crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadtorooted.com with your morning Horn of Z's, your sip of chaga copy. Wow. Had a mind-blowing discussion with Penny Kelly that I posted on the private road the other day. Too much good stuff that we can't post on YouTube because of the censorship. Censorship is so destructive to any kind of society. I know why the founding fathers were so keen on censorship and freedom of speech. It is so obvious that if you allow censorship, then the truth never comes out. So it's just so important for our country. And any Democrat who supports the censorship of anything, especially things related to health, you are destroying your country. You are absolutely destroying your country. We cannot have any censorship. I don't care what it is. Half the stuff that's said you should hate, and the other half you should love. But it gives both sides of the argument, and that's we have to start taking care of ourselves. The nanny state is what's going to kill us. The end of the nanny state is what's going to kill us. The destruction of the fiat monetary system, the destruction of the healthcare system, the destruction of the education system, the destruction of all that shit that was put in place to train us how to be good slaves. All that's got to go away. That's the problem. We shouldn't be living like this. We shouldn't be living in a nanny state. We need to take care of ourselves. 100%. Our soul needs it. And Penny and I talk about that. Penny is an amazing human being, by the way. Those of you who don't know her, go to her Patreon channel, Penny Kelly, or her YouTube channel if you want a little taste of what she's got to offer. She's been studying spirituality and consciousness and health and all kinds of things for so long, and is just a wealth of knowledge and such a cool person. that was the best part. I was going to call it Shooting the Shit with Penny, but I changed it to, like it or not, our whole world is about to evolve. And as evolution happens, we were talking about more of a instantaneous type of evolution, like a cell splitting and changing. Everything's about to change, and it could be instantly. And many people will not handle that well, and many people will not survive it. That's part of evolution. Will your soul survive? Yes, it will. Our souls are eternal. Our consciousness is eternal. She had some interesting thoughts on the transition from having your consciousness being transported in a body versus when your body dies. Some things I hadn't even thought about. What is it that allows you to have a smoother transition back to your home base of closer to the one of everything, and the source. Closer to source is kind of what we're striving for. And source created us because of experience. Source wants us to experience, ultimately, source is everything, the one, God, whatever you want to call it. And in order to experience itself, it broke off little parts of itself to say, hey, let's try this. That's why we can't remember who we are when we come here. Is it's a better playing field. If you already knew that everything's going to be fine, it doesn't matter what you do on the planet. It's like Gandhi said, what you do is insignificant. The fact that you do it is very important. So we get into those discussions. We get into talking about $600 silver, $800 silver, $100,000 silver. She's got some great insights into that. And when I take my side, the analysis of, she was told and given that information by her higher self and other entities, and then she didn't believe it originally. And I sat her down, I walked her through, here's how it could happen very easily. People who don't understand silver and look at sub $25 silver might have a hard time understanding how $100,000 silver is even possible, or $800 silver, as Penny was saying, is even possible. Those of us who have dug into what the manipulation is, what silver is, how much silver is left on the planet, the relationship of silver to gold, the relationship of silver to the amount of fiat money creations out there, it's very easy to see how silver will go to $800 and then ultimately probably be the most valuable thing on the planet, at least commodity-wise. But we have a great discussion. So go to the private road. It's right there at the top. I posted right at the top of the private road. It's called, like it or not, Our Whole World is About to Evolve. Great job, Penny. We will have more discussions. One thing that had come up, she was talking about, I'm not going to blow what, she has a look-see every month that for her Patreon people who it gives you kind of a guide of where we're going over the next few months. And it's great. I used to do that too. But as the world changes, you get a lot wrong. And I stopped making predictions on when because I'm better at explaining how and why than when. But one of the things that came up was she saw the dollars, these dollar leaves falling to the ground, and along with it, she had the peg. No, it wasn't the peg. Sorry, it was the float. And my mind directly went to the float of like a stock or a bond or the amount of crypto out there. The float, and it might be that the float is the total amount. Like for Bitcoin, the total float would be 21 million. When the last Bitcoin is mined. Right now, it's, I don't know what, 20 million or something. I haven't looked at it in a long time how many are out there. But like for Theta, it would be 1 billion Theta. There's 1 billion Theta that will ever be made, and there is a total of 1 billion. The float of Theta is 1 billion tokens. But I think what potentially she was talking about was not necessarily the float in that respect, but the float as related to floating currencies. Now, floating currencies is a concept that nobody thought would work prior to 1971. Prior to 1971, we had a gold standard, and every currency was, not every, but vast majority of currencies were pegged to something. Before 1971, we were pegged to gold, supposedly. Although there was a lot of market rigging going on, it wasn't the extensive market rigging that was needed to float the currency to remove gold from the peg. So once we left gold, the US dollar wasn't backed by anything. There was no reference point other than other currencies. That's called a floating currency system. The only way that worked was the manipulation and rigging of the markets by Alan Greenspan with his computer programs on the foreign exchange derivative markets. Yes, the U.S. dollar and all currencies are valued via the derivative markets. Insane, I know. You need a derivative of a derivative of a derivative to control the system. So everybody thought it would crash and die, especially in 1980 when we saw hyperinflation kick in. And then, bingo, we have the Gold Commission report. The conclusion was, hey, we got to get our budgets in order if we're ever going to control this. Otherwise, we got to go back to a gold standard. So what did they do? They continued the rigging of gold and silver with the computer programs that Alan Greenspan wrote, taken over by the banksters, the criminals. The CFTC was put in place right after the U.S. dollar was unpegged from gold to run cover for the manipulation. We all know this if you're on the road to Ruta. So she sees that if it is the floating currency, the float would have a change come the beginning of next year. You're going to have to go to Penny's site to get the exact date. She does talk about the week and the month. So go to Penny's Patreon site, and when she talks about the float, I think that's what she's talking about is the floating currency versus pegged currency. We might be going back to a pegged currency very soon. We might have to, obviously, with the hyperinflation. It's all fake numbers, so you guys know that by now. Anyway, silver, once again, it got slammed down yesterday a little bit. It's jumping up. why we are at a very important position right now with silver is these moving averages. I've talked about, the technical traders love this bullshit, and that's how a lot of times they're fleeced. But right now we're looking at $25.45 being the 200-day moving average. Silver's already above the 100-day and already above the 50-day. The 200-day moving average, stuff like this happens when it crosses all of them right over here. Big jumps. And then they got to put on massive manipulation to stop it at $30, and then even more manipulation to stop it at $50. Once it blows by the $25.45, it'll run quickly to $30. Then people will start selling thinking, oh, they're going to slam it at 30. When it blows by 30, people look at 50, the all-time high. Oh, remember what JP Morgan did in 2011 by allowing it, by forcing the silver price up to $49.50 or whatever it was. I don't think it ever hit $50. And then they slammed it down. We better, if it gets into the 40s, we better sell because we don't want to go through another 10 years of an artificial bear market. I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to blow by the 50, and then we have free sailing. Then there is no more technical ceilings. So theoretically, we should search for fair market value. What is fair market value of silver? I have no idea in relation to US dollars. There's so many quadrillions, quintillions. We have hit infinity money, and they don't tell you that, but they are printing infinity money behind the scenes. Well, they told me in 2007 in the Road to Ruta comics. And on the cover of The Economist magazine in 1988. We all know what that cover said. Get ready for a global currency, a new global currency. It's not a new world currency. Could be. But, gold could be a new global world currency. But on that coin, it didn't say 1918. Jenny and I did a deep analysis of that last week. Go to Private Road, go to the Jenny discussion. That's not an 8. It's not 1918 or 2018. It is not. That's an infinity symbol. And that's what we've hit, the infinity of money printing behind the scenes. Then they just don't tell us. So really interesting stuff. Yeah, what is the true fair market value of silver when what you're comparing it to is infinity dollars? What's the value in dollars? I don't know. I did a long analysis of silver 6 years ago, and I came up with $100,000 silver. It's better to look at it in relation to gold. 75-1 is a completely artificial bullshit number when it comes to the gold-silver ratio. If anything, right now, it should be 7-1. 7-1, which is 10 times. Silver should be 10 times higher than the price of than its current price, just to keep up with that. Now we have the other issue of gold. There's massive amounts of gold. There's millions of tons of gold out there. 2, 3, maybe 4 million. Nobody really knows, and that's a problem when you're trying to value something. If you don't know the quantity out there, how do you know the value? But again, in relation to fiat money, which is going to infinity, gold should do well. But silver will do multiple times better. You should swap all your gold for silver, in my opinion. This is not financial advice. This is common sense if you know anything about silver. All right. Now I want to talk about the best cryptocurrency out there, which is Theta. My buddy Big Dog 1111 did an interview with Wes Levitt. Great discussion. You don't find this type of talk with any other crypto. Go and watch this video. Theta Fuel, soon to be T-Drop. That's the future of the internet. It's the future of the metaverse. Yes, the metaverse is that new thing everybody's saying they want to live in a virtual world. Let them live there. I'm not a fan of it, but a lot of people are, especially those people who want to be. They find freedom in these metaverses. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes, of course, in a virtual world. But maybe you can. Maybe you can find truth and honesty in a virtual world that's run off the blockchain. I don't know. The world's getting very complicated out there. I don't think I'm going to have to live through a metaverse type world. I don't think I would fare well in it. um, but at the same time, my kids probably will. And Theta is the leading by far cryptocurrency related to the infrastructure of that. When Cliff was talking about cryptos back in the day, he'd have different types of coins. He related to like a railroad. There would be, the locomotives, the boxcars, and then the groundwork, the tracks. Theta would be a track. And I guess T-Fuel would be a locomotive. I don't know. It's more infrastructure type token. And when the world finds, the investing world understands what Theta is, good night. Yes, Theta is going into the thousands of dollars. Thousands. And it's currently at $7.50. Half of its all-time high. I cannot stress enough. Theta will be probably number 1 or 2. And I'll get to that in 1 second. But great discussion with Wes. Big Dog does a great job. It's advanced crypto. You got to really understand what Theta is trying to do and doing. There's a reason they get a patent every time they turn around, because those in charge of the new system trying to develop it know how important Theta is to that. If there's any crypto that you're going to get or you should be heavily weighted in, it would be Theta and Theta Fuel right now. And the current ratio, I think, is out of whack, 21 to 1. I think it'll get down to 10 to 1 before the end of the year. So the T-Fuel investment will be 10 times as valuable. Now, the thing you got to think about, don't unstake your Theta now, because we're having the T-drop coming up on February 1st. And you're going to get all those T-drop tokens for the amount of Theta you have staked right now. So hang on to your Theta stake. But if you're buying new Theta or T-Fuel, I go T-Fuel all the way. I think it's going to do 10 times as well as Theta, even though I still see Theta at $88, 10x from here by the end of the year. Obviously, we're getting closer to the end of the year, but that's how cryptos move. They move in a blink of an eye. And when the big money finds out about it, finds out what Theta is and what they're doing, they're going to try to get in, but nobody's going to be selling. Remember, there's 64.4% of Theta is staked. It is not available on the market. So keep that in mind. And when I say the big money is going to come in, the big money took forever to get comfortable with Bitcoin, and now they kind of get comfortable with it and they're buying Bitcoin. It took 10 years, for Christ's sake. They don't move quickly. Now it's going to be, okay, we understand cryptos. We see what a great thing is. We understand the blockchain. Oh my God, there's other things in this new universe that we have to be involved in. And these are the smaller cap type companies, cryptos, and things like that. Here's a great example. Citadel's Ken Griffin sees Ethereum surpassing and replacing Bitcoin. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. Ethereum, you can use Theta instead of Ethereum. It's faster and cheaper, although Ethereum is going to improve that. I do see Bitcoin as not being the number one cryptocurrency. I think Bitcoin Cash will pass it up at some point because it's more useful. The Bitcoin core developers have no intention of making Bitcoin cheaper or faster. They're just trying to hodl away their money. Whether that means anything in the future, I don't know. The other thing is the Satoshi, who controls the million Satoshi Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. I think it's the United States government. I think the United States was in there very early on. And part of the new system will be Bitcoin based. And I don't think the U.S. is going to go with Bitcoin Cash. I think Asia is going to be really, really involved with Bitcoin Cash, using it as a means of exchange. So, Bitcoin Cash is like $600 right now, and Bitcoin is $60,000. I would definitely be buying Bitcoin Cash because all this big money is going to come out of the tech companies, out of the stock market and the bond market, and be going into the crypto world. Well, once they get their Bitcoin, because that's the only thing they understand right now, they're going to be looking at, oh my God, there's so many other things. And the number one thing is going to be Theta. That's how Michelle Whitehead comes up with $1,000 Theta. She saw it very clearly when Theta was 5 cents, 10 cents. That is going to happen. And I've spent a lot of time going through how it happens. Not that it's just going to happen, how it happens and why. Go to Road to Ruta, the private road. I have a whole page on Theta, how to buy it, store it, and stake it. Go to Road. You got to get on the Road to Ruta. Anyway, so I do see a flow. Yes, there'll be a flow into Bitcoin, but as soon as these aren't dumb people. King Griffin is not a dumb person. He's going to say, he's already starting to see, oh my God, all these things you can use Ethereum for. I remember being in my greenhouse back in 2000, I didn't even know when it was, 2014, with a list of all these companies that were signing up with this new thing called Ethereum that could be run on the Ethereum network. And I had a list of pages, and I'm like listing them off and throwing them in the air and said, buy an Ethereum. Ethereum was like $4. And that's exactly what the Ken Griffin is seeing right now. But cryptos have evolved so much more. There's so many more scams and useless tokens. But at the same time, there are tokens like Theta that are absolutely necessary for the internet to even work. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Theta and Theta Fuel should be, if not your number one, it's my number one. Many people on the Road to Ruta have benefited greatly from Theta and will continue to benefit greatly if they hodl on. Just stake it and keep hodling. I think T-Fuel will do very well. An interesting thing about T-Fuel, people are saying because it's being created, I think it's, I don't want to get this wrong, I think it's 4-to-1. I think there's 20 billion being created, 4-to-1 with over T-Fuel, which is 5-to-1 with Bitcoin. With Theta. But here's the thing. A lot of the T-drop coins will not be allocated right away. It's going to take time. So there's not going to be many available. Whereas both Theta and Theta Fuel, it was all instantly available. 1 billion tokens and then 5 billion tokens instantly available. This is different, the way it's rolling out over, I think, 18 months and more. So, yeah, there won't be as many T-drop tokens to be traded, which, supply and demand says if we had free markets, price should go up. Anyway, that's where we are. Are we near the top of Bitcoin? No, not even close. The Mayer multiple Trace Mayer's multiple is currently at 1.42. You need to start to question yourself at 2.4. We are right here, way below. But there's other indicators that say we're going to have to hit at least 100,000 Bitcoin, maybe even 350,000 Bitcoin before we see the next drop, pull down. So definitely hang on to your cryptos. This is not, every time you see these kind of mini drops that we had in the last couple of days, you should be buying those. And then at some point in the future, it'll be probably a good time to sell, or at least sell part of your holding and hodl for a couple years until the next run. But you don't want to miss out on the big ones. Hodlers always win. I've been saying that since Bitcoin was invented. I haven't won all my bets because some cryptos just disappeared. And we talked about that a lot at the beginning. And it was like the .com days. There was all these .com companies, pets.com and all this. You don't know which one's going to be great until you weed them all out and understand the future. That's what went on in 2017, 2018, and when Bitcoin was taken down by the U.S. government, actually. And some of them just went away. But the ones that were solid and sound, and now we know why, have gone up substantially crazy to make up for the losses of the other one. And we talked about that a lot back in the day. Now I think the market's more mature. I would say, hang on to things like Theta. I would hang on to Bitcoin because it was the first and it's the biggest. Bitcoin Cash, I think it's way undervalued as for its use case in Asia. I think Asia is going to adopt Bitcoin Cash as their form of money. So get ready for that. Roger's going to be right on that one. And it's controlled by a lot of the Chinese miners who are working with the Chinese government, and they have 1.3 billion people. So yeah, definitely get yourself Bitcoin Cash. And then there's a bunch of others that I love. I love Litecoin. I think Litecoin will be more used as cash in the United States. And I think it's a sound coin. I think there are plans in the background. And that's why it just ran up to $300 and now it's being slammed down. Get yourself some Litecoin. Great time to put your toe in the Litecoin world. And Litecoin is the right coin as a means of exchange. I wrote that song. I don't know how these songs come, but the reality is that's exactly what Litecoin is. It's a means of exchange. It'll buy your cup of coffee when lightning is arranged. My bank is on my cell phone. I can walk through any door. That's how the song goes. If you haven't heard it, go to Roadrunner or go to the Roadrunner YouTube channel and look up Litecoin is the right coin. Been in this game a long time, and I can hodl for 5 years if necessary. I don't like hodling if they're that long in the downturns, but at the end of the day, am I happy that I hodled my Bitcoin when it went from, say, $400 down to $100? Absolutely. Absolutely, because the future is in the cryptocurrencies, the good ones especially. And if you know what you're doing, and you listen to people who know what they're doing, you're going to do very well, and you're going to figure out which ones are the good ones to hodl. Theta should be your number one, in my opinion. Theta should be your number one holding, much more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not dynamic. Remember, Cliff High said you got to either be dynamic or you got to be dynamic in the future that we walk into. You can't be static. If you're static and hoping for the past to return, it's never going to return, ever. You have to change. You have to evolve faster than the change. Those are the people who are going to really succeed. If you're static and you don't want to move, you're probably not going to be around this planet much longer. You cannot be static. You must understand that the whole world is changing. And you got to change with it or you will be left behind. And it's not a good place to be. If you love socialism, that's kind of where you are. Yeah. But I wish everybody the best of luck in their choices of how they get to the end of this life. And then moving on forward and check out the Penny Kelly discussion. All right, that's kind of what I want to talk about. Don't forget, I'm talking to Jenny Moonstone today. I'm very excited about that. Not quite sure where we are as far as I think she found a good internet spot to do it from. We've been struggling. I had to do it on the phone a couple times, but I got some great questions for her. And if you like silver, you're going to love this discussion. All right. This is Bix Weir, roadrunner.com.
Hey, Roadrunner followers. I'm Josh Lake, and I'm here today with Bix Weir, and we have some very exciting news for you guys. We are so proud to announce our first ever sweepstakes here on the Road to Ruta, where we're giving away $5,000 worth of our favorite cryptocurrencies, Theta and T-Fuel. So we're hosting the sweepstakes throughout the whole month of November because November is all about Thanksgiving. This is our way of saying thank you to all of our followers and all of our supporters for all of the love over the years, and to give one of you guys the chance to really change your financial future. This is a first for us here on the Road to Ruta. We've never done anything like this before, and we're so excited to see how it goes, and we hope you guys are excited to participate as well. So go to our sweepstakes page on the website, fill out the form, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Theta TV, and then just sit back and wait to find out if you become the winner of our very first sweepstakes ever. You'll get your chance to win, and we wish you guys the best of luck.